Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, get ready, because today we're stepping right into a huge moment in football history, the UEFA Champions League Final, May 31st, 2025.
That's right. We're looking at Paris Saint-Germain versus Inter Milan, played out at the Allianz Arena in Munich.
And the headline, the big story right off the bat, is that scoreline. PSG pulling off a massive 5-0 win over Inter.
Yeah, 5-0. And based on everything we've read, this wasn't just, a comfortable one. It was a performance that actually set a new record, the largest winning margin ever in a Champions League final.
Incredible. 5-0 in the biggest game in club football. That number just speaks for itself, really. But the sources make it clear. The significance goes way beyond just the score.
Absolutely. This was the match where PSG finally got their hands on that Champions League trophy, their first one ever.
And not only that, it completed a historic treble for the club. League, Cup, and now the Champions League.
Wow. So our mission here in this deep dive is to really unpack what the sources are telling us about how this happened. We'll dig into the key moments, the tactical side of things from PSG.
Yeah, the standout players too.
Exactly. And look at the stats the sources provide to figure out why this game is being called things like a masterclass and a real statement performance.
Okay, let's dive right in then. How did the sources actually describe the match? Because it sounds like they saw it as, well, more than just a game.
Definitely more than just a game. The language used is really strong. You see words like coronation, tactical masterclass, and that phrase resounding statement coming up again and again.
So what was it specifically, according to the sources, that made them use such powerful language? It wasn't just the score.
That's a great question. And the sources really point to the way they won, the manner of the victory. It seems Luis Enrique's side came out with this hunger and cohesion.
Right.
Like they were determined, to finally shake off all those past disappointments in Europe they're known for.
Okay, so that hunger. How did that actually look on the pitch, tactically speaking? The sources mentioned their pressing game, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. That was a huge theme.
Yeah.
The sources repeatedly described their high-intensity press as relentless, and you can see why. They weren't just doing it now and then.
Right.
No. They were genuinely suffocating Inter, cutting off passing options, making it really hard for Inter to play out from the back.
So forcing mistakes.
Exactly. Forcing turnovers in really bad areas for Inter. And that whole aggressive approach, well, paid off almost immediately with that opening goal.
Yeah, that 12-minute goal, the source said it set the tone. Can you walk us through how that played out based on the material?
Sure. It was described as a swift, incisive move. Started with Vitinha, who threaded this really nice pass through to Désiré Doué.
The teenager.
The teenager, yeah. And the sources highlight his remarkable composure. Didn't panic, just calmly slid the ball across to Achraf Hakimi, who used to play for Inter.
Ah, the narrative.
Right, for what was basically a tap-in.
A former Inter player scoring the opener. Ouch. The source did note Hakimi's celebration was muted, respect for his old club.
But the PSG fans definitely weren't muted. And then, just 8 minutes later, Doué, the kid who got the assist, gets on the score sheet himself.
For 2-0 already. How did that one happen?
Doué took a shot from the right side of the penalty area, and the source points out it took a pretty big deflection off Federico Di Marco.
Ah, a deflection.
Yeah, and that deflection, according to the material, left Jan Sommer, Inter's keeper, completely wrong-footed. No chance, as they put it.
So 2-0 going into halftime. Comfortable for PSG. The sources mentioned that, okay, a PSG win looked likely then, but almost nobody predicted the scale of what was coming, the onslaught, they called it.
And onslaught is the right word. PSG just didn't let up after the break. The sources say they kept up that relentless pursuit for more goals.
You could really see the energy difference, couldn't you?
Totally. Inter, who the stats say were the oldest side in Serie A that season, they just looked, visibly fatigued is the phrase used.
Just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, struggled to cope with the pace, the dynamism, especially from PSG's younger attackers.
Though the source does give a nod to Kvaratskhelia for Inter, saying he was a constant threat even if he missed a couple of chances early in the half before eventually scoring.
Right, he did get one later, but before that, PSG made it 3. That felt like the real killer blow, didn't it?
Absolutely. 63rd minute, Doué gets his second goal.
And the description is pretty simple. Just calmly slotting the ball into the bottom corner. But again, the build-up was something special.
What happened there?
Another brilliant assist from Vitinha, who was having an amazing game. But before that, Ousmane Dembélé pulled off this sublime no-look flick to set Vitinha up. Just pure class.
Wow. Flair and efficiency. Okay, so 3-0 down. Inter must have known it was over.
Pretty much. And then the fourth goal arrived, 73rd minute. Kvaratskhelia did finally get his goal for Inter then.
How was that described?
The source says he was released by Dembélé. Dembélé involved again and managed to roll the ball past Sommer. A consolation, really.
Because PSG weren't done yet. The fifth goal. The source called it the final nail in Inter's coffin, 86th minute.
And what's really quite neat about this one is the material highlights, is who scored it. It came just 2 minutes after a teenage substitute, Senny Mayulu, came onto the pitch.
An academy kid, on his Champions League final debut.
Exactly. And he makes an immediate impact. The source says he crashed a shot in off the post, just smashed it in.
Talk about a dream debut. And the source framed that as a poetic end. The academy product sealing the record-breaking victory. That's storybook stuff.
It really is. And beyond just the goals, the sources provide the stats that just lay bare how dominant PSG were.
Right. Let's look at those. What do they say?
Possession first. PSG commanded nearly 60% possession, just controlled the ball, controlled the game.
And the attacking numbers must have been huge.
They were. 23 total shots for PSG to Inter's 8. That's almost 3 times as many.
And crucially, shots on target.
8 shots on target for PSG compared to Inter's 2. So not just shooting wildly, they were accurate too.
Anything else stand out statistically?
Their passing accuracy,
Yeah.
an 88% pass success rate, which in a final under that pressure is pretty impressive. It highlights the precision and control they had.
So the attack was obviously on fire. But the sources didn't just focus on them, did they? Other parts of the team got credit.
No, absolutely. The midfield, especially, was singled out. Anchored by Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz, it said they just dictated the tempo of the whole match.
Vitinha seemed to be everywhere, according to these descriptions.
He really did. And the defense, too. The defensive unit, led by Marquinhos, with Donnarumma in goal, they were largely untroubled for most of it. Kept things solid at the back.
So when you put it all together, the sources really frame this victory as, well, more than just a trophy, right?
Exactly. It felt like the culmination of years of investment, all that money and planning finally paying off on the biggest stage, and a huge testament to Luis Enrique's vision, getting them playing that way.
And what really comes through is that mix of players, established stars working alongside this electrifying young talent.
Yeah, Doué, obviously, but Kvaratskhelia, Barcola, Mayulu were all mentioned specifically. The sources really suggested this game showcased a new era dawning at PSG.
The changing of the guard, perhaps?
Could be. They didn't just scrape their first Champions League win. They did it with this incredible style that will be remembered for generations, completing that treble. It was emphatic.
And what about Inter side of things? Did the sources offer much perspective there?
It acknowledged their achievement in getting there, calling it a valiant effort to reach the final. But the conclusion was pretty stark. They simply had no answer for PSG's overwhelming quality and intensity on the night. They were just outplayed.
So looking back at what the sources tell us about that night, wow, it really was more than a football match. It sounds like a statement of intent, like you said, a breaking of old curses for PSG.
And maybe the definitive arrival of Paris Saint-Germain as European royalty, finally reaching the summit.
That 5-0 scoreline, it's not just a number, is it? It's become a symbol.
A symbol of their dominance that night, yeah. Their tactical superiority, their skill, and maybe most excitingly for them, the emergence of a thrilling new generation of talent.
This whole historic treble-winning season is going straight into the club's folklore, no doubt about it. But looking at this final performance, the sheer dominance, it makes you think, doesn't it? This might not just be the end of a great season.
It could very well be the beginning of something much bigger. A new era of PSG dominance in Europe. Maybe. I mean, when you win a final 5-0, breaking records like that, with young players shining so brightly.
It does make you wonder.
It really does. What does that kind of comprehensive victory actually mean for the balance of power in the Champions League going forward? That's definitely something to think about.